What's up, football heads? Welcome back to that show. As always, I am your host, Kyle McQueen. We're here on a Let Me Talk to You Tuesday on a Wednesday. And getting to part two, we'll dive right in of the Week 11 review. Left one early slate game to talk about for today. My, my Minnesota Vikings. Headed down to Nashville, down to Tennessee, take on the Tennessee Titans, who at one point in a long distant past were my Tennessee Titans. And they have just shit the bed entirely this entire season. Um, the outcome, I think, is what we all expected. The Vikings are a better team, regardless of whether you think they're contenders, top contenders, not contenders, whatever the case. They're certainly a better team than the Titans. Should have been able to get it done on the road, and they did. Might have been a little tighter, maybe, than you'd hope, even though they win 23-13 to get a double-digit win, which is always nice. But just what a weird game, man. Just a weird fucking game. The awful, awful officiating. And, like, I say that as it had been weeks in a row where the officiating was terrible in Vikings games, and it was, like, almost exclusively against the Vikings. In this case, it was almost exclusively in favor of the Vikings. I will say this, the Titans' offense, the penalties on their offense, pretty warranted. A lot of, like, procedural stuff, illegal formations and things, just sloppy football from the Titans on the offensive side of the football. Um, Defensively, though, a lot of borderline calls, a lot of ticky tack stuff, a lot of stuff that, like, maybe, like, we're playing press man and he releases the press man at, like, the 5.5 yard line, and they call illegal contact, shit like that, where it's like, all right, what are we doing here? It's not like he's jamming him 5.5 yards out. He's jamming him, riding it back, and then releasing. Wasn't impeding him, wasn't holding him. You had the what was it? Unnecessary roughness in the end zone on what would have been a drive-ending defensive play. Instead, gives him a first down. And when you watch the replay, I mean, it's as textbook a hit. It was a hard hit, but as textbook a hard hit as you can get in the modern NFL with the modern NFL rule book. Referee standing right there, still throws the flag on it. And this is where we need replay assist. Even, but, like, it doesn't slow the game down. Like, they still, like, they gather and they chit chat and talk about what they're gonna have for dinner or whatever the fuck they're talking about when the refs huddle up. Like, whoever's watching the replays upstairs, like, they got time. By the time the ref made the call on most of these calls, but specifically the unnecessary roughness call, we watching at home, the people in the stadium had seen, six different angles of it to be able to say, like, yeah, it was a hard hit, but it was clean. It was textbook. You couldn't have done it any better. Like, replay assist, why can't we buzz down with the replay assist on anything? Like, I to me, I think with replay assist, it should be a case of, clear and obvious, which opens a whole other can of worms. But clear and obvious, and just give it a time frame. Just give it a time frame, whether it's up, like, if the refs are going to huddle and talk, whether it's up until they're done huddling and the lead official is going to go make the call, or whether there's an actual just timer where it's all right from the time the whistle's blown. Replay assist has 15 seconds, 25 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever the case is. And it might vary based on, like, if there's no flag thrown and it's just the play clock's running, we're on to the next one, then it might be a little shorter, versus if a flag is thrown and it's gonna come to a stop for them to huddle and do the thing. But I think we need to expand that. I think that's, I mean, it's tough to say we need more officiating because the officiating is awful, but the guys on the field do have a tough job. They're watching things in real time, real speed. They got everything playing out in front of them. They don't have the benefit of all the different camera angles that are, focused directly on whatever is, the subject of the call or the penalty, or is it a catch, is it not a catch. So I just think they need to open replay assist up to cover everything, and just make sure, like, we're not waiting on the replay assist. As long as we're not waiting on the replay assist, I don't see any harm in having someone that has access to all the broadcast cameras being able to buzz down and say like, hey, like this is what the call should be. Like the against the Vikings Colts game where Darnold, they threw a flag and the ref thought it was a face mask. They huddle. It wasn't a face mask, but it was a forcible blow to the head. But you can't review that with replay assist. You can only replay assist a face mask where they said, well, it's not a face mask. Like, why can't replay assist say, well, it's not a face mask, but it's a forcible blow to the head. It's still 15 yards. Like, just the point of any of this should be to get the calls right. Like, any of this bureaucratic bullshit, just the process of it. Like, I don't give a shit about your process. I don't care about the bureaucratic process of what we're doing and what the rule book says. Like, get the fucking calls right. If you're not slowing the game down with this, why are we not using this tool to its fullest extent to get the calls right? That's what's important. Get the calls right. And all it's going to do when we know you got eyes in the sky watching this shit and you're correcting some calls but not all calls, all that's going to do is open up more conversation of, well, NFL's rigged, NFL's scripted, well, the refs got this team to cover the spread, whatever the case is. So it's nonsensical. Anyway, the Vikings Titans, it was a bit of an ugly game to watch, in large part because of just the ticky tack penalties. Even as a Vikings fan, it felt like we got 7 first downs on penalties. 7. And then the Titans also had a touchdown, a deep ball to Calvin Ridley taken away by a penalty, which was a procedural penalty, I believe, illegal formation, which was a legitimate call. And they're cracking down on the whole, like the tackles. I believe their head has to break the belt line of the center, and they're calling that every game, every week, it seems like. So that was a legit call, but it was just a game kind of marred by penalties. I think it's easy to make the story of the game about the penalties because it was just so glaring, it was so constant, and it was always against the Titans. But Vikings defense, Brian Flores, they came to play. They got after Will Levis, who Will Levis had himself a solid game. He had the pick late to Harrison Smith, but you're down 10, you're inside 2 minutes, you're forcing shit, trying to make something happen. You're living on a prayer at that point, and just kind of hangs a deep ball out there, and Harrison Smith picks it off. But ultimately, like, not a terrible game for Will Levis. We've seen much worse. 17 for 31, 295, a touchdown and the pick, but he was sacked 5 times for 34 yards. Pat Jones, a couple sacks defensively. I believe he's up to 7 for the season. Andrew Van Ginkel had 2 sacks. I believe he's up to 8. So we got the Ginkster up to 8. Pat Jones up to 7. I think Jonathan Grenard is at 7 or 8. So there's a nice rotation there. The Vikings remain undefeated with Blake Cashman on the field. He is a massive difference maker when he's out there, and hopefully he continues to be out there. He also had a sack. He had the 5th sack of the day. But the defense was all over him. You take away the one. What Brian Flores has been doing is he's blitzing on first down and second down, and then he's showing exotic fronts where he'll put 6, 7, 8 guys along the line of scrimmage, and the tendency has been they don't blitz on third down, but you got 6, 7, 8 guys lined up, and so if you're a quarterback, like, all right, they're probably not going to blitz because that's been the tendency, but I don't know which 4 of these guys is coming because there's so much versatility there. Like, Van Ginkel can rush off the edge. He can also play off-ball linebacker. We've seen what he can do. He did it in the Jets game. He did it in the Giants game, where you think he's rushing and he drops back into his zone because we've shown something that leads people to believe he's going to rush. So then they're thinking, well, we got to throw hot and we're going to throw this area, but then he drops and picks it off and takes it back for a pick 6. So you got shit like that. Josh Metellus, great blitzer, also a damn good free safety, even though he did give up the deep ball touchdown to Westbrook Akine, which he was in position, like he read it and played it properly, but then he kind of like slowed and it looked like he was like trying to cut off more of like a deep sideline route, but then it just went over his head, and Westbrook-Akine took it in for the touchdown. So that was less of a schematic thing and more of just like an individual situational kind of whether he read it right, but he read it wrong, or just kind of like fucked up in his steps. But Metellus can handle business deep. Also a great blitzer. Ivan Pace Jr., a great blitzer. And then you got guys like Jonathan Grenard, like I said, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, that can drop off into some flat zones, some hook zones if you need them to. So if you line up 8, even if you know the tendency is we're not blitzing. We're just only gonna send 4, maybe even 3 guys. You don't know who's coming. And for whatever reason, they decided to blitz more on third down in this game, and they got burned on it on the 98-yard touchdown to Westbrook-Akine. And you can look at it either way, like, we're going to get heat on a young, inexperienced quarterback that's been making some mistakes. I think the flip side is you could look at it as, well, he's a young, inexperienced quarterback who's been making some mistakes. If we line up 8 guys and we only rush the 4, that's a lot of pre-snap processing and post-snap processing that this young, inexperienced quarterback who's making a lot of mistakes has to deal with before and during the play. So got burned a little bit on that, but you take that away, which again, maybe you got to keep them honest and blitz on third down. Sometimes you can't just always not blitz, even if you got all the guys lined up, and it still is always going to be a bit of a guessing game. So it is what it is. They've been having success not blitzing on third down, and so as a fan watching, I'm like, well, why are we all of a sudden blitzing on third down? But I get it. And then Metellus just one rough play and coverage on there, but you only give up 13 points. You take away that 98-yard deep ball, just a mistake. They only give up 6 points. Offense moves the ball. Darnold technically credited with a fumble. I don't know. You'd have to ask someone that knows what the fuck they're looking at. Whose fault it was? Was it Darnold? Was it Aaron Jones? But you lose the one fumble. But Darnold clean coming off 2 back-to-back games where he's just has not had good games. He's thrown a ton of picks, 5 picks, I believe, in his previous 2 games. So he comes out clean, 20 for 32, 246 yards, 7.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 2 sacks. And he had some wild escapes in this game because they were on him. Like Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, you know how I feel about the War Daddies, the planet-sized mutants up front. They were after him. Landry on the outside, Arden Key. So they were getting after him, but he was making plays. He was escaping. He was spinning around. He was doing all kinds of shit. So Darnold had an excellent game. Terrible game on the ground overall for the Vikings. Averaged 2.5 yards a carry, only 82 yards on 33 touches, which I do still like that they ran the ball 33 times to 32 passes, even though they were only averaging 2.5 on the ground. And, you get some key conversions here and there on the ground, which is nice. Cam Akers had a 12-yard run. But the Vikings' run defense on the flip side, though, 19 carries for the Titans, 33 yards, only 1.7 yards per carry for the Titans. So the Vikings' run defense, very legitimate. Early in the season, I was skeptical, and I wouldn't say skeptical, but I didn't want to be extremely boisterous about it because it's really been like Baltimore, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh at the clear top for run defense the whole season. But early on, we were hanging so many points on team. We're up 28-0 on the Packers, beat the dog shit out of the Texans, beat the crap out of the Giants. So, you're hanging all these points. It's easy for teams to kind of get away from the run in a league where these offensive coaches are fucking allergic to running the football for whatever reason. Shouts out Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. But this far into the season, and there's been enough games now where they haven't jumped out to these massive leads, especially the last few weeks, that they've maintained their numbers run defense wise. So I think we gotta give the Vikings run defense at the very least some love. Like I said, them, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh are just putting up ridiculous numbers defensively when it comes to stopping the run. Um, but overall, good game. You had the 47-yard touchdown to Jordan Addison. Vikings, far from a perfect game, far from their prettiest game. The run game couldn't really get going. They give up the deep ball to Westbrook Akine on defense, but at the end of the day, you get a double-digit win on the road against a bad team. You hold them to 13 points, with 7 of those coming on just a blown, not even a blown coverage, just bad technique, I guess, on the back end. So Vikings rolling along 8-2. The Titans continue to be absolute fucking dog shit, and I'm not even emotional about it anymore. I've written it off entirely, mostly because I'm pretty sure unless they win out, none of my futures bets will cash with the Titans. But Skull Vikings, you'll love to see it. Moving on to the late afternoon slate, my Broncos beat the dog shit out of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I did pick the Broncos. I didn't think they were going to beat them this bad. Oh my God. Kirk Cousins, 18 for 27, 173 yards and an interception, no touchdown, sacked 3 times for 21 yards. Falcons got beat so bad, Michael Penix got in the game, went 2 for 4 for 24 yards. 21 carries for 50 yards rushing between Bijan, Jace McClellan, and Kirk Cousins. 2.4 yards a carry. Just nothing going on offense for the Broncos. We know what that Denver defense is capable of. I know it's easy to look at that Baltimore game where they got their shit kicked in and kind of like have that question because we don't view the Broncos as being anywhere near an elite team, so it's just easier to question them. But their defense continues to put up monster performances, and then Bo Nix. Bo Nix has to be, at the very least, in Offensive Rookie of the Year considerations. Like, he's got to be in the conversation, if not the front runner right now. Because Jaden Daniels has, this whole season, for as good as he's not been lighting it up with the numbers, and the efficiency's come down the last couple weeks, whereas Bo Nix is surging. I mean, you look here, 28 for 33. 307 yards, 9.3 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He only gets sacked 1 time for 12 yards. They rushed 26 times for 105 yards for a 4.0 average. Javonte Williams gets into the end zone, spreading the ball around. Look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different guys were targeted. 9 got catches. Cortland Sutton, 7 for 78. Devon Vele. I don't even know who this dude is. I feel like I've seen the name, but I don't know the name. 4 for 66. Little Jordan Humphrey, 4 for 52, had the 41-yard touchdown. Marvin Mims Jr., a couple grabs. Javonte Williams, 4 grabs. Troy Franklin, 2 grabs and a touchdown. Nate Adkins caught a touchdown. Audric Estime caught 3 balls. So Broncos spreading the ball around, just stifling defense. Everyone's getting in the mix on offense. Bo Nix just out here just tossing touchdowns, dude. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Come on. And I was as big a Bo Nix critiquer as there was in the pre-draft process because I was so locked in on JJ McCarthy. I didn't want to hear about it. But there was a lot of very legitimate concerns, I guess, from people that know that world much better than I do, people that I trust, and you kind of let that factor in. And then you watch him play, you watch him at the combine, doesn't feel like he has the strongest arm. And it's like, all right, yeah, I'm not in on this Bo Nix guy. But it always, when I did my quarterback matchmaking in the offseason, it was Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Denver Broncos, and that's where we ended up. And Bo Nix, in my estimation right now, is the rookie of the year for offense. So shouts out Bo Nix, shouts out my Broncos. They got it done. They got the bounce back. I guess not the bounce back, but they continue bouncing back from the tough loss to Kansas City. But the Broncos are legit, man. Right now, you look at the standings. If I pull these up, they are in the 7th spot at 6-5. They're only a game up on the Colts, but I think if you watch the Broncos play and you watch the Colts play, I think you feel a lot better about the Broncos. The defense, you throw out the Baltimore game, the defense has been a dominant unit. The way Bo Nix is playing right now, with Sean Payton calling the plays, spreading the ball around, I think you got to feel pretty confident about that. They're a game and a half up on the Dolphins, who are starting to catch a little steam. The Bengals are dead, Jets are dead. Pats might be frisky, but they're not going to make the playoffs. Browns dead, Titans dead, Raiders dead, Jacksonville dead. So it's really Broncos, Colts, Dolphins. And while the Dolphins are starting to catch a little bit of wind in their sails, the Colts, I don't trust them at all. So to me, it's like Broncos, Dolphins, but the Broncos got that game and a half head start, and they're just playing good ball. Like the offense is humming along, the defense is locking dudes down. So if you're a Broncos fan, I feel like you got to be pretty juiced up about where your team is right now. Pretty excited. I'm pretty confident that you're going to get that last wild card spot. Um, then we got the Seahawks 49ers. This game killed my teaser. Had, I believe, 10 picks on the teaser. Got all of them. Had the Niners -1, I think, -1.5 maybe, and they were in it the whole game. And then Cornrow Geno, man, I talk about it more on the pick show that's coming up. But if I had known Cornrow Geno was coming to play on Sunday, I would not have put that game in my teaser. Or if I did, I would have skewed to the Seahawks, because Cornrow Geno he's the same animal and a different beast, man. You do not fuck around with Cornrow Geno. But Seahawks have quietly climbed back in it. We talk about this on the pick show. If the Seahawks beat the Cardinals this weekend, depending on what happens with some tiebreakers and the Rams game against the Eagles and the 49ers game against the Packers. So, like, tough matchups all around in this division on this upcoming Sunday in Week 12. But the Seahawks could, for as the 3-0 start, and then as bad as they've been since the 3-0 start, they could be first place. They could be first place in the division walking out of Week 12, in a division of the Rams are back and forth. The Niners now apparently are back and forth. You look at this game, it looked like they were going to win another game. And, they're not winning pretty. They're not blowing teams out. But, you keep stacking. But then they stop stacking, and the Seahawks get it from them because of Cornrow Geno, baby. So shouts out Cornrow Geno, even though you fucked up my teaser, but that's on me. I do think the sports books should have voided the bets. If we had known Cornrow Geno was playing, I feel like anyone that bet against the Seahawks would not have bet against the Seahawks if you knew Cornrow Geno was coming out there. So, but the Niners, I don't know what to make of them, because they got the talent. Like, Brock Purdy, they figured him out a little bit. Like, he's not playing like top Brock Purdy ball that we've seen him play in the past. 21 for 28, which looks efficient, but only 159 yards, 5.7 yards per attempt, a touchdown, an interception. McCaffrey's still working back from the injuries. He's not back up to form yet. 19 carries for 79 yards, 4.2 average. Not terrible, but nothing exciting. Brock Purdy scrambling around, five carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. But Debo's not really involved. You got the Ayuk injury. Juwan Jennings continues to be the guy for Brock Purdy, which is good for them. But Kittle, where's Kittle at? Kittle's not really making a difference. Kittle didn't even have a kid. Did Kittle even play? Kittle might not even played. I don't know, because he's not even on here getting a target, so he might not have played. Ricky Pearsall, 2 targets, no catches. Debo, 7 targets, 4 catches for 22 yards. Juwan Jennings really was it for them. 10 grabs, 91 yards, and a touchdown. But I don't know what to make of the Niners. You still, you look at they got a lot of injuries, but still a supremely talented team. They got the experience. They know what it takes. They understand it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you're still wary of them. Like, if you're a fan of any of these other teams in the West, I don't think you're writing off the 49ers. If you're a fan of a wild card team like I am right now, you're still looking at them, even though we beat the Niners straight up head to head, and The Niners are at 5-5, and we're at 8-2, so we're 3 games up on the Niners with the tiebreak. We're basically 4 games up with 7 games to go, and I'm still like, I don't know. The Niners, you never know. They could still win the division. We might have to go play in San Francisco in the playoffs. You don't know how it's going to shake out, so you can't write them off. But they're hard to get a beat on right now. Like I said, them and the Rams, it's kind of like they win a couple of games. You think, all right, they've figured it out. They've kind of gone through the rough patch. They've gone through the slump. Now they figured it out. They're going to rip off a few of these in a row, and then they lose. And they lose. It's not a bad loss. Like, you didn't get stoned out here at home by Seattle, but you can only put up 17 points on Seattle. Like, I don't know. So, Niners fans, let me know, because you guys have been watching them more than I have. What's up with the Niners? Is it just the injuries? Is it there? It seems like every once in a while there's some weird vibes, like Debo goozling the who was it, the long snapper a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. What's up with the Niners? I'm curious from people that are paying more attention to the Niners. What's up with the Niners? But I'll tell you what's up with them Buffalo Bills, baby. If it wasn't for some idiot kicker, I sat up here last week. I said Bills by double digits, and the Bills pull it off. They win by 9. We all watched the game. Unless you're a Chiefs fan, we all thoroughly enjoyed the outcome. The dark magic run of the Kansas City Chiefs appears to be over, and as soon as I say that, it means next week they will pull off some dark magic to win yet another game. But my MVP, your MVP, our MVP, the football world's MVP, Josh Allen, like I've been saying for 2 months, can we stop denying it? I love Lamar. He ain't the MVP. I like Patrick Mahomes. He damn sure ain't the MVP. You got a ton of guys. Jared Goff is, you take away the 5 interception performance against the Texans, Jared Goff is playing just stupid good football right now. Ridiculously good football right now. But he's got all the weapons. You got the play caller. You got the head coach, the culture. You got the running backs. You got the defense. Yet they're losing pieces. They lose Anzalone. Can't write that off. They lost Aiden Hutchinson. But Josh Allen, what Josh Allen is doing is the most valuable thing that anybody's doing in the league, because he is the MVP. He's my MVP, your MVP, the league's MVP. Josh Allen showed why he's the league's MVP. Like I said, this is going to be a Josh Allen coming in to put foots in asses. Josh Allen knows how to put his foot on a team's throat and plunge the dagger into the heart. I said, this is the Josh Allen we're getting. We're getting Josh Allen coming in to fuck your shit up. And you watch that last drive, that touchdown, a nice gutsy call. I know the Bills fans have been hard on McDermott, that he's a coward. He plays it safe too much. We got Josh Allen. You got a wild fucking Mustang. You got to let him run, man. You got to let him ride. And speaking of riding, shouts out Broncos country. Let's ride. But right now, Broncos country's riding, and the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia are circling the fucking wagons like nobody else. Josh Allen came to fuck Kansas City's shit up, and he fucked their shit up. McDermott, gutsy call on 4th down. We can kick a field goal, and now we force Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid to get all the way down and get a touchdown. If we don't get this, a field goal beats us. It's a gutsy call. But listen, either way, if we get this touchdown, it's a 2-score game. If we kick the field goal, it's a 1-score game. They need a touchdown. We don't get it. They need a field goal. But either way, in either of those situations, you're putting the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands with a chance to go down and score and win the game in regulation. What did I say 2 weeks ago? You have to put yourself in a position to beat them playing 4D chess. They were in a spot where I do think, like, if Josh Allen just gets the first down, they could have got another, like, if he just got the first down or he gets it by a couple yards, they could have got another first down. They could have bled the clock all the way down. It was possible. I think that factored into the decision making. If we get this first down, we can grind more time out. If we still get a touchdown, it's a 2-score game, but at the very least, we'll grind a bunch of more clock down as much as we can. And if we have to kick the field goal, then we'll kick the field goal. But right now, we need more out of this drive. We either need a fucking touchdown and go up 2 scores, or we need to bleed a lot more clock out or all the clock and just run it down and win the game. And that's what you got to do against the Chiefs. I told you 2 weeks ago, you have to beat them in 4D chess. You got to have the ball in your hands with zeros on the clock and the lead, or you're kicking a field goal or running into the end zone with the football or catching the football in the end zone with zeros on the clock to score and take the lead, or you're giving them too much of a chance. And Josh Allen said, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm taking this rock. I'm getting the first down. And then I'm going to get some more. And I'm going to get some more. And then I'm going to run through about 3 guys. Just, it wasn't pretty, but spinning around guys, collides with a dude at the fucking goal line. He took 2 steps, and I said, there is no way that Josh Allen is not putting the ball in the end zone on this play. It's happening. You could see it. Just all it took was 2 steps. It was like, uh-oh. If I was the Chiefs defense, I'd be getting the hell out the way, because he's getting in there. And I might get myself a concussion and miss a couple games if I get in the way. Because you might get in the way, but you're going to end up flat on your ass with him running over you, cleat marks on your chest, maybe on your face, might cave your face mask in. He was running so damn hard. Josh Allen, league MVP. We all love to see it. We all love to see the Chiefs go down. We know that they were not your typical undefeated team at this point in the season. There were no 07 Patriots. They were not putting up the numbers of the 07 Patriots. They're winning all these close games on weird circumstances. Not that they're a bad team. They are a great team. They are an elite team. They are a tip-top contender. But they had to lose a game. I said they were going to lose by double digits. If the idiot kicker didn't miss the extra point early in the game, I think it might have been the first touchdown of the game that he missed the extra point. What I prophesied would have come to fruition, but either way, we'll take it. 9-point win, Buffalo Bills over the Kansas City Chiefs, and now they put themselves in a really good spot, a very good spot, to take that number 1 seed. Kansas City, they only got to lose one more game. If they lose one more game and the Bills just keep on cruising, if the Bills handle their business, I feel like the Chiefs are going to lose another game this season, and then everybody in the AFC is going to have to go through Orchard Park. Everybody in the AFC is going to have to go through Western New York. Everyone in the AFC is going to have to go through Buffalo, Bills Mafia, Josh Allen, MVP at home to get to the Super Bowl. And I like the Bills' odds as much as any scenario. If they can get themselves that number 1 seed, watch out, man. Watch out. I don't think the Chiefs want to go back into Buffalo in the playoffs. I really don't think they do. Now, not that they can't win there. We've seen it happen. The Bills have not been able to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs in this era, in the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen era, but it's going to happen sometime. It's going to happen sometime. Peyton Manning took him multiple tries to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs, multiple times to beat Bill Belichick in the playoffs, multiple tries to win in Foxborough. And all it took was, hey, we got an AFC championship game in our house, in the RCA Dome. And not only did they beat the Patriots, they kind of broke Bill Belichick a little bit, because they come back 07 and they just start, the Patriots do, stoning teams, where it's like, you know what? Because they had the big lead, and then the Colts came back. It's like, you know what? We can never let that happen again. We just need to put 50 on everybody in the first half in every single game. And took the Patriots a long time to get back to the top of the mountain after that. But I like where the Bills are at. Still, you don't have Milano. You feel like the defense is stripped down a little bit from where it had been previous few years at the height of their run. You're down Diggs, you're down Gabe Davis, but you got Amari Cooper now in the mix. And he's comfortable now. He's been in the system now for a few weeks. He's comfortable with the teammates. He's comfortable catching balls from Josh Allen. Keon Coleman's going to come back from the injury. Kincaid's going to come back from his injury. So the weapons they're going to get healthier. They're filling out more. Everyone's getting more comfortable. It's a first year with Josh Allen for your top 2 receivers on the outside, but we're getting late in the year, and Bills are cruising, man. The Bills are cruising. The Chargers are also cruising. Sunday night football. They won a game 34-27 that they were dominating. I mean, I just flat out dominating the Bengals. They were up 24-6 at halftime. Bengals make a furious comeback. Joe Burrow throws 50 balls, 28 for 50, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Another 300 plus yard passing day with 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jamar Chase only 75 yards, not terrible. But T Higgins a buck 48 on 9 grabs and a touchdown. Jamar Chase does get 2 touchdowns. But guess what? Bengals still lost. And I've said it on every program, every show, every recording, every podcast that I've done for weeks now. The Bengals are a tease, not a threat. They should not be taken seriously. Their defense sucks, and they can't get it done. And that's just the facts of the matter. We got to stop talking about the bet. I'm telling you, you could feel Tirico every time Tirico or Collinsworth opened their mouths. It was just like, the Bengals defense has struggled, but Trey Hendrickson, he leads the league in sacks right now. What Joe Burrow is doing is amazing. What Jamar Chase is doing is amazing. They're so talented. Like, there's no way they're gonna keep losing all these games. Like, they win tonight, they can get back in the wild card race. And it's like, well, they didn't win. They didn't win the week before that either. They're not beating anybody good. I don't care how many touchdowns Joe Burrow throws. I don't care how many yards Joe Burrow throws for. I don't care how many yards Jamar Chase gets. I don't care how many yards T. Higgins gets. I don't care how many touchdowns they get. I don't care what Chase Brown does on the ground. Does not matter. The defense can't stop anybody. And they keep losing. They're 4-7. They got the same record as the Saints that 2 weeks ago. We all knew. I declared it, but we all knew we're the worst vibes team in professional football, possibly all of football across the planet and potentially on other planets. And now they got the same record as the Cincinnati Bengals. That the national media Muppets will continue week after week, day after day, to sit up here and make excuses for why they're 4-7, why, Joe Burrow is amazing, and he is, and why Jamar Chase is amazing, and he is, and T. Higgins. But you don't win the game based on having 356 passing yards. You don't win the game because you had 3 touchdowns through the air and no interceptions. You win the game by scoring more points than you give up. And as current, 7 times, they have given up more points than they have scored. Bengals ain't that good. They got a great quarterback. They got great receivers. But the Bengals kind of fucking suck. They're 4-7 for a reason. It's not like Joe Burrow's been hurt the whole year. Like last year they missed the playoffs. Joe Burrow was hurt and Jake Browning was playing. Jake Browning was playing well enough to make a playoff run, but it all comes down to the fact that Jamar Chase apparently, allegedly, alluded to this in the postgame, that their coach, Zach Taylor, is a fucking bozo. The guy's a buffoon. He does not know what the fuck he's doing. He looks like a King of the Hill character. He looks like a Bob's Burgers character. He's a fucking Muppet. There's no reason. The only reason this dude still has a job is because 1 year, somehow, with Joe Burrow, who's a great player, Jamar Chase, great player, T. Higgins, great player, they got to a fucking Super Bowl. And he will ride that for as long as he can. But the guy's a bozo. He is not a good head coach. He is not a good play caller. He does dumb bozo shit. I think there was a 4th down that they went deep and they got it. And it drives me nuts because you see it almost every game. It's 4th and 1. 4th and 1 and they go deep. Oh, we're going to catch him. They're never going to see this coming. But everybody does it every fucking week. So yeah, they're going to see it coming because everyone fucking does it every week. Stop going deep on 4th down. And just because one time out of 100, you're successful going deep on 4th down does not make it a good call. It doesn't make it a good idea. It doesn't make you a genius because, we outsmarted them. It's 4th and 1, but guess what? We went deep. They never saw it coming. No, it's just because you got a great quarterback and a great receiver. But 99 times out of 100, I watch that ball hit the ground, or it sails overhead, or a guy bats it away, or it gets picked off, or whatever. It's a dumb call. And not just Zach Taylor. Coaches, offensive play callers around the league need to stop doing it. Stop fucking going deep on fourth and short. It's fourth down. You're going to turn the ball over if you don't get it. First of all, you shouldn't be going for it on fourth down unless you're in no man's land. You shouldn't be going for it on fourth down unless you are in a crucial situation in the game where you need to convert a fourth down and keep the drive alive. Or you're on the goal line and it's 4th and 1 and you're trying to get in for whatever reason at this point. Just get the yard. Get the 2 yards. Get whatever it is. Why are we going deep? Why the fuck are we going deep? On 4th and 1, 4th and short. Just get the yards you need to keep the drive going. No, we got to go deep because we'll catch them off guard. The fuck out of here. So they caught them off guard once. They make their little comeback. And then the Chargers and the Bengals. Listen, I did not come away from this game all that impressed with either one of these teams. Like the Bengals are going to score some points, so I'm not going to hold that against a very good Chargers defense under Jesse Minter. Shouts out Jesse Minter. Thanks for the natty, baby. But I like the Chargers. I root for the Chargers. I love Jim Harbaugh. But there's something missing there for me with Justin Herbert. 17 for 36. 17 for 36 against the Bengals defense, bro. And he missed a ball late. I mean, nothing's a gimme in the NFL, but he missed a ball late where it was like a professional quarterback should make that throw. You don't have to be a fucking Pro Bowler to make that throw. And it would keep the drive going because the end of the game was just the Bengals saying, "No, you go win," and then the Chargers saying, "No, you go win. No, you go win. No, you go win." Nobody wanted to go win this fucking game, and then finally the Chargers put together a drive and they go win the game. So shouts out the Chargers, but neither one of these teams has beaten anybody. Chargers especially have not beaten anyone. They're 7-3. Can't shit on it. They put themselves in a great position in the wild card. They now jump the Baltimore Ravens in the wild card race, and they play them on Monday night coming up this week. Tune into Noob Football Picks dropping tomorrow to see who we pick in that game. But just 17 for 36 from Herbert, who, I think we finally got past the point where people are putting Justin Herbert in the top 5 quarterbacks because it's just ridiculous because what the fuck has he done? Oh, look at the arm talent. Oh, the arm talent. I don't give a fuck about your arm talent, dude. Win some games. Now, obviously, the biggest issue was Brandon Staley, maybe the biggest bozo / buffoon to coach a football team with the excluding Urban Meyer with the Jaguars, maybe the biggest bozo / buffoon to coach a football team in recent memory. So he was clearly the biggest problem. Had to get him the fuck out of here. But like we know what Jim Harbaugh can do, and they're 7-3. But even still, it's like when I watch Justin Herbert, it's pretty. He's supremely talented. He's got a ton of arm talent. He can run around. He can do all that stuff. But there's just something. It feels like it's missing in there somewhere. Just something subtle. It's not glaring, but it's subtle. Like to me, he is still firmly in that. Like I was getting ready to compare him to Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, but like those are two dudes that they've been to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has quarterbacked the team to a fucking Super Bowl. Justin Herbert can't even win a fucking playoff game. Justin Herbert had a massive lead in a playoff game and couldn't put the ball in the damn end zone and secure the win. So to me, there's a little something missing there. Jim Harbaugh is going to be a guy who can get it out. I'm confident that Harbaugh over time with Justin Herbert is going to pull that next layer out of him because like I don't think it's a mental thing with Herbert. Like he seems like a very calm, cool, collected kind of guy, confident guy, but there's some intangible thing that I feel like is missing from his game that Jim Harbaugh should be able to coax out of him, but I haven't seen it just yet. Again, good win for the Chargers. You get to 7-3, you put yourself in a good position, but they were in you were in a position where you could have walked away from that game thinking like on national TV, people walking away thinking like, oh shit, we got to pay more attention to this Chargers team. They came out and beat the dog shit out of the Bengals. Like you remember when the Eagles beat the dog shit out of the Bengals? we came away saying like, oh, okay, Eagles might be back. I'm pretty sure that was the week I sat on this show and I said the Eagles might be back. They still haven't beaten anybody, but they're beating the dog shit out of a not good team that has a great quarterback and some great receivers. And the Chargers could have done that same thing here. Again, it's not a win over a quality team. It's not a win over a team with a winning record, but they were beating them bad, 24-6 at halftime. And then you just let them back in the game and don't do anything the entire second half until you absolutely need to. And also until after you failed to do so multiple times. And then the Bengals also failed to continue the comeback to try and secure the come from behind win. But either way, you get a win, 7-3. I like the Chargers. I like the defense. I like Jim Harbaugh. I like Justin Herbert. There's some little bit missing there. Big test on Monday night against the Baltimore Ravens. That's a game, and especially because the Ravens are coming off a tough loss, a tough divisional loss to the Steelers, set them back even further behind in the division now, even though they're 7-4. So they're going to be hungry to bounce back. So you're getting a hungry, not desperate Ravens team, but a Ravens team that got knocked around a little bit, did not have their best game by far this past week, that they're going to be hungry for the bounce back. So now if you're the Chargers, you've got a good opportunity at home to beat a quality team, to beat a contending team, to beat a team with a winning record that's hungry to bounce back. If you can handle business at home, that's a nice signature win that you can put on your resume to feel confident in when you get to the playoffs, because the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. To get to the playoffs and say like, okay, we beat the Ravens. We know we can beat these teams. We know we can beat some of these teams. Like the Ravens beat the Bills. The trickle down effect of like once you put yourself in that mix where you can beat one of those teams that's beat some of the other teams, and those other teams that beat other teams, like you feel like, okay, we're in the mix. We can beat a good team. We can beat playoff teams. We can beat, you know, top tier ish contenders in the Baltimore Ravens. So all in all, it's a win is a win is a win, and a win is a good win. And the Chargers get a win; they go to 7-3. There was a game on Monday night: Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. The Cowboys are a fucking joke, terrible, awful. The roof of the stadium was falling off. Joe Mixon, 20 carries, 109 yards, 3 touchdowns. CJ Stroud, quietly, in a 34-10 win, quietly, another not good game for CJ Stroud, 23 for 34. Not terrible there, 257 yards, but no touchdowns, an interception, 1 sack. Not terrible, but just not good. Like, he's just not playing to the same level he was last year. Nico Collins is back. It'll take a few weeks for him to get back up to speed, and it should even itself out. Once Nico Collins works his way back from the injury, you got him, you got Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, John Mechie, Joe Mixon's running the ball. So they should be able to keep building momentum. We looked at their schedule recently, and they got some supremely winnable games here coming up. So I expect the Texans to rip a few off. And like I said, Nico Collins working back from the injury should help CJ Stroud kind of get back to where he was at. They only gave up 1 sack. Their offensive line's been a bit of an issue. And the Cowboys fucking suck. There's no way around it. That they're the most they might be the worst fucking team in all of football. I know Adam would declare them and has declared them the worst fucking team in all of football. And they honestly might be. They really might be. But here's another. I don't want to talk about the Cowboys because they suck and they're not worth talking about, even though I spoiler alert, I picked them to win against Washington next week. But Rico Dowdle gets 10 carries. You run the ball a total of 18 times for 64 yards. Cooper Rush, a backup quarterback, your backup quarterback, throws the ball 55 fucking times. Big Mike McCarthy, what in the fuck are you doing? I'm going to say this to Big Mike. I said it to Kevin Stefanski. I'll say it to every fucking offensive coach, not even head coach, not even offensive coordinator. You might be a fucking quality control coach right now on the sideline, but in 5, 10, 15 years, you're going to be calling plays for some franchise somewhere. Listen to me. Listen to me. Run the fucking ball. You have a backup quarterback in here. Why is he throwing 55 times? I get it. It was 34-10, but the game was closer than that for most of the game, or if at least a good solid chunk of the game. Let me see if I can pull up the bit here. I cannot, does not want to cooperate with me. But either way, okay, here we are. It was 17-10 at halftime. You tell me you can't run the ball at 17-10? It was 20-10 after 3 quarters. A 10-point game through 3 quarters is not a license to stop running the fucking football. If it's a 10-point game with like 4 minutes left, then yeah, maybe you need to pass the ball. But this is a football game. This is a football game that you can win. You can work your way back in and find a way to win through at least 3 quarters. It's the same thing with the fucking Browns against the Saints. It is a football game through 3 quarters. Why? Why is Cooper Rush throwing the ball 55 fucking times and your whole team total combined only has 18 carries? Why? Where's the logic? What's the game plan? What's the scheme? What's the scheme, Big Mike? What did you cook up in the lab Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What did you install on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What did you go over in the team meeting in the hotel on Saturday night? Huh? And they were at home. I don't know. We got into this with Caesar. Regardless, the last team meeting, what'd you get into? What were you guys scheming up, cooking up in the lab? 55 Cooper Rush passes to 18 team total rushes. What the fuck? Run the ball, man. God damn. It's just it's ludicrous. These people are fucking imbeciles and I do not understand it. Jesus. Anyway, fuck the Cowboys. They're a dumpster fire. Big Mike should have been fired before he even got hired. The day he got hired, I said this is a mistake. Yeah, they won 12 games 3 years in a row. What did it get him? What did it get him? Absolutely fucking nothing but the same shit they've been getting for the last 25 plus years. So that's the week 11 slate. Coming up on an hour here, I'll try and blow through a few of these extra topics I want to talk about. Joe Douglas fired out New York Jets. I feel like the record at 30-64 or something like that with Joe Douglas as GM, but he's assembled a pretty good roster. The ownership wanted to go get Aaron Rodgers. He went and got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and whoever else wanted to go get Devontae Adams. He went and got Devontae Adams. He got all these great defensive pieces that they've built this supremely talented defense with. So, I get it. The record's terrible, but I don't know. You kind of look at it and feel like he did his job. It's the motherfuckers on the field and the motherfuckers on the sideline not getting it done. So that is what it is. And then it comes out today that apparently Woody Johnson broached the subject. I don't know who with, maybe Bob Saleh. Maybe this is why Bob Saleh got fucking fired on, I believe, September 30th. Not even a month into the season, Woody Johnson's talking about maybe we should bench Aaron Rodgers. And this is I say that we talked about it a little bit on Noob Football Picks this week. I've talked about it in the past. I did a bonus episode highlighting this. Whatever you feel about Aaron Rodgers, whatever you felt about Bob Saleh, Zach Wilson, any of these fucking people, the Jets are and will continue to be a dumpster fire organization because Woody Johnson is a trash owner. He is a terrible owner of a football team. It all starts with Woody Johnson and it trickles down from there. We talk about it with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones. What's the biggest problem with the Cowboys? Jerry Jones, the owner. The biggest problem with the Jets, listen, through all the years, other than the couple years with Rex Ryan, where they went to AFC championship games, this team has been fucking awful for decades. Decades. Since I've started watching football, this team has been atrocious way more often than not. And they've had talented teams. And it all starts at the top with Woody Johnson. So Woody Johnson, hey, they just fired Joe Douglas. Who's making that call? Got to be Woody Johnson. Fired Bob Sala. Then maybe they could blame Joe Douglas, or they can blame Aaron Rodgers all they want. But now you look at it and says, well, who was it really? Probably Woody Johnson. And he also wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers. So under Woody Johnson, this year, in a year where they had Super Bowl aspirations, before we get to Thanksgiving, he's fired the coach, fired the GM, and less than a month into the season tried to bench the Hall of Fame quarterback that they just traded a top pick for, or a second round pick for, a year prior. Woody Johnson is a fucking idiot, and sell the team. I'm not a Jets fan. I don't give a shit about the Jets. But on behalf of the Jets fans out there, sell the team. Go peddle your pharmaceuticals somewhere else. This is not a political show, although I'm about to get into some politics, and I'll use that as a transition. It's not a political show. But sometimes sports and politics, they intertwine. And I saw a report yesterday, I believe, that the NFL has no problem with people doing the Trump dance. You know, the double fisted back and forth Trump dance. And on the surface, I saw this and I was like, yeah, why? Like, who cares? People care, obviously, and people are gonna throw a shit fit when they see it. But like at the end of the day, like it's a dance. Like Trump didn't invent the dance. Maybe he popularized whatever the fuck it is. I wouldn't even call it a dance. And people would obviously be doing it because of Trump. But like, who cares, man? Whatever. It's not important. And then I remember Colin Kaepernick. And I was not a Colin Kaepernick fan. I, to this day, maintain firmly that Colin Kaepernick was not a starting quality quarterback. He was not starting caliber in the NFL, and he proved it. Jim Harbaugh got the most out of him possible, and then it started to fall apart. Jim Harbaugh got into it with fucking Trent Baalke, left, went to Michigan, brought us the natty. Love you, Jim. But then post Harbaugh, Kaepernick was no good. He was not a starting caliber quarterback in the league. But all that said, this man was demonized and ostracized for taking a knee during the national anthem. Now I know one is a celebration, one is not. But here's the thing: like, if you ask me my personal opinion, and I did not vote this year. I didn't vote in 2020. I hate both parties, and I think they're all fucking idiots. And again, this is not a political show, but I just want to set the stage for I am unbiased when it comes to this because I think you're all fucking morons. If you ask me my personal opinion, is doing the Trump dance different from taking a knee during the national anthem as a sign of solidarity with black people getting killed by the police? Yes, to me, those are two totally different things. And on the surface, allowing one and then kind of banning and ostracizing someone for doing it for the other one, two totally different things, should not be equated. But here's the issue: it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the collective thinks. And especially in the climate, we're 2 weeks removed from the election. People aren't going to separate those two things. Liberal voters, leftists, Democrats, whatever, they're going to see this. Oh, they'll allow people to do the Trump dance. Trump's dividing the country. They're going to allow people to do the Trump dance, but then they're going to ban Colin Kaepernick and anyone else from taking a knee in solidarity for black people getting killed across America. Like that's how they're going to approach it. That's how they're going to see this issue. And so for the NFL, where your goal, I mean, they put out all these NFL players telling you to go vote ads, and it's a nonpartisan situation where it's like, I mean, you might know who some of these people are. Like, we know Nick Bosa voted for Trump. Just like, you can look at any number, a handful of people and say, like, yeah, well, like LeBron in the NBA, he voted for Kamala. But the ads themselves, it's just go vote. Not telling you who to vote for, not telling you what's important in terms of voting. Just go vote. Just voice your shit. The NFL is a massive entertainment commodity, massive enterprise. You're playing to everybody. Now you understand, like, middle Americans, conservative white America out in, in the plains of Nebraska love their football. But guess what? People of every color, race, creed, religion in all the major cities, they love football too. Everyone loves football. The NFL is for everybody. And so when you've already set this precedent of how you approached Colin Kaepernick kneeling, where you came down pretty hard against it, the owners came down very hard against it. You gotta understand that the people on the other side of that are gonna view this. Oh, we don't have a problem with anyone doing the Trump dance. Like, even if you don't have a problem with anyone doing the Trump dance, even if you're gonna let people do the fucking Trump dance, you don't have to come out and say it. You don't gotta put it out there. Just like, if someone does the Trump dance and then they don't get punished for it, like, yeah, it'll come up in conversation. Someone's going to write a piece on it and people will talk about it on Twitter. But as soon as, like, you're like, it's situation like when you can sense something bad's going to happen. So you want to get out in front of it and, like, get your statement out there and get, and start spinning the narrative in your favor before it becomes an issue. That makes sense. But this is a case where it's like, you need to do all that. Now, I don't know how this came out, but, like, someone somewhere had the discussion that got leaked, or the discussion was with someone. It's like, yeah, go tell them. We don't have a problem with the Trump dance. Because, of course, if you come out and say we're going to ban the Trump dance, then Trump's going to come up at a rally somewhere and talk about, the NFL, they're terrible. They're trying to prevent people from dancing. We love the dance. We love the Trump dance. And he's going to turn it into a whole thing. And then he's going to get his fucking people frothed up about, yeah, we got to boycott the NFL. And then it's just like, just don't say anything about it. But at the end of the day, as dumb as the NFL is for either putting this out there or allowing this to get out there, like, they shouldn't even be having internal discussions about it. Like, it's just like, if it happens, then we'll discuss it. But, like, we just don't need this shit out there. Although I do know on some of the sports books, you can bet on who is going to do a Trump dance before the end of the season. So some fun props out there for those of you who hate political theater and think it's all a big joke, but want to make a little scratch on the side. But also, to America, like, just don't let yourself get upset about some stupid shit like this. Like, it's bad enough getting upset over these fucking bullshit bogus elections where we have the illusion of choice, and even that illusion, let's be real, has been shattered for quite some time now. But, like, you want to get mad over election results? Like, I get it. I think it's I don't want to say foolish, because I don't want to sound like I'm calling people fools, but it's not worth it in my mind, getting upset over election results. Like, if you want to get worked up and, like, trying to spread the word about who you think people should vote for, but, like, if it doesn't happen, like, it doesn't happen. Like, it's don't let it ruin your life before anything has ever been put into action by that politician to actually, like, tangibly ruin your life. Like, you can't let your own mind ruin your life because of for some results. Like, he's not even in office yet. But you definitely can't let, if someone comes out and does a Trump dance, like if Nick Bosa gets a sack and does a Trump dance, like, don't let yourself get upset over that. Like, it's wasted negative energy. Just, like, water off a duck's back. Just let it go. It's not a big deal. And I understand, the wanting to tie it into the Colin Kaepernick thing and kneeling during the national anthem. I get that, and I 100% understand it. But again, it's something that's beyond our control. If you love watching football, don't boycott football for something either something that gets banned or something you thinks that should get banned that doesn't get banned on either side. Like, just watch football. It's football. It's a game. It's a sport. I don't like that I have to sit up here, and I guess I don't have to sit up here and talk about politics. And it's really not about politics. It's about football. But it's when it blends together, and I don't like when it blends together because it doesn't need to blend together. It's football. It's a fucking game. Like, at the end of the day, like, the overwhelming majority of us are not going to be happy at the end of the season. Our team is not going to win the Super Bowl. But then guess what? Hope springs eternal in the spring, and then we get the draft and free agency, and then you get into mini camp and OTAs and training camp and preseason, and you get to be excited again because here's another season. It's a beautiful thing. Just enjoy the football. And if Nick Bosa wants to look like a dumb fuck doing the Trump dance, not. And again, this is a nonpartisan take, but trust me, like you get out there doing this, like you kind of look like a fucking dumbass. But so if they want to do that, just laugh at these people for being just funny. It's funny. It's a funny looking thing. You want to hate Trump, hate Trump. You want to hate Kamala, hate Kamala. You want to hate all of them because they're all a bunch of crooks and phonies. Then hate all of them because they're a bunch of crooks and phonies. But don't let it rob you of your joy of watching this beautiful game that we all love, because we are all football heads. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Football Heads Show with 2 S's. That's Football Heads Show. And until next time, as always, take it easy, football heads.
Move it, football head!